we want to talk about our special partnership, which is celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
Rock on.
Do you want to explain what's going on? Do you want to?
Sure. So we're super excited about this project that is in partnership with community media and a number of other organizations in the area. If we go back to spring, summer of last year, we as an organization understood that there was an opportunity at our doorstep to celebrate the local history of this region in association with America 250. So we approached your group. We formulated ideas together, and we have now come up with a project which is entitled America 250, Pennsylvania's South Central Frontier. And this region of Pennsylvania and of the frontier of the Pennsylvania colony is an area that we want to bring to life in the context of how this region participated in this moment of time that led to the formation of this country. As we've been digging into this jointly, we recognize that there's a wonderful fabric, a mosaic of that can be presented, that we have plans to present for helping people today to understand what transpired here, who are the families and the individuals that played a role, not only at the local level, but also at the colonial level.
Sure, particularly with York.
With Philadelphia.
And that's what you have. Selfishly, I am thrilled to realize the history of this area. To drive down 30 and wonder, what was this like before it was Route 30? You know, and as Mike has stressed many times, it's those old Indian pathways that dictated how people moved, and this was where they were going to be settling. This was the area that they were going to be settling. And at one point, it was like the German and the Scottish, and there was no real deed. They would come in and they were settling, and then as things evolved, well, you know, you had to have a deed, and that was more so after the French Indian War, right?
Right, exactly.
But you know, to realize that 30 was a path. It was a footpath at one time.
Right.
Then it became a wagon path, and there was trees all over. So you know, how do we present that?
And this is going to be a wonderful opportunity with the skills that community media is going to be bringing to the table, has the capacity to accomplish, where we'll be able to take the audience in these productions and immerse them into a reality that was, in fact, the reality of the time. It's very hard for us to, as we move around in our daily lives, to envision the world as it existed in that time where we're actually standing.
So,
but we'll be doing that.
We'll be doing our best, won't we?
We will.
We'll be doing our best, especially with the talents of Mark Worley. And I don't want to put everything on his back, but we're very comfortable with him. And also your group, Mike, you've been scouting around locations that is as close to that time period as ever that we can capture. And so this whole experience that is going on, I'd like to start off with, there's an outline of the areas that you want to cover. Of course, you're going to cover a little bit of before 1765. People coming from, this used to be part of Lancaster.
Yes.
This
Exactly.
was part of Lancaster. So this was part of Lancaster. And then it moved to be part of York.
Right.
And then it became part of Adams County. And your timeline here, 1765, colonial life in York County's western frontier. From that point to the 1770s, 1790s, which is when Adams County.
Yeah, so what is really apparent when we were scoping out this, this project is that it's necessary, if you want to focus in on the events, the places, and the people that played a role from this region in the America, the Revolutionary era, you really have to understand how they were set up psychologically from their experiences after the French and Indian War, the policies that were in place that helped to cultivate or create a frontier mentality, and then how that frontier mentality actually then combines with sentiments of liberty in life.
Yes.
That took root in the port cities of places like Boston, Philadelphia, and others.
You know, even though they were out here on the frontier, some of the people that, when they were asked why they were getting into the revolution, it's interesting the language they use. They would often say, "We're doing this in defense of our English rights." They still use that adjective English. They still saw themselves as part, in many ways, of the whole English empire. And that language quickly changed during the Revolution. It became natural rights or rights of Americans, but the notion of their liberties being infringed upon.
Yes.
And that's articulated in so many venues. One is, and you mentioned taverns, Ray, you know, that becomes an important place of getting excited about things. But also in churches. There were ministers, both German and Scots-Irish, who would deliver thundering sermons about, you know, the importance of maintaining your liberty and defense. And so those are elements too. Other churches, when you think about churches, other churches were not so engaged. The Quakers, of course, because of their pacifist principles, even they may have been sympathetic with the cause. And then the Church of England, the Anglican Church, we now call Episcopal, they often were straight out loyalists or Tories. They wanted to stay with the crown. And so you have the whole matrix of opinions, and it's expressed often through religion as well as local figures. You know, a local tanner, for example, James Smith becomes a member of the Continental Congress. James Smith is one of the most interesting figures in this whole York area. So, you know, looking at individuals, looking at their ethnicity and their occupations too. Are they farmers? Are they tanners? Are they millers? You know, that whole.
What motivates them?
What motivates them?
Right.
And this threat to their sense of what will the English do next? It looks like they're scheming to take over everything, to really tighten up the screws of the empire in a way that they've never seen before. It's almost the apprehension of what's to come rather than the reality of the moment. You know, how you think about this is the entering wedge. And if we don't stop it now.
Right. And those were the kinds of conversations that would have taken place in the taverns.
And after church.
And after church, after the meetings, and in your own home.
Intersections.
You know, that's right. So it's that fear of, well, what is coming next? Because in fact, there was a steady cascade series of acts designed
Reinforce that.
to to raise revenue.
Yeah.
So.
So they weren't like totally paranoid.
No.
They had
there
reasons.
there was
There
experience.
was experience.
There was experience.
So you look at it, before 1755, they're coming from Philadelphia to Lancaster, through York, through the pathways of what is this area now, and some may go further to Chambersburg. Some may be going down to Hanover, but they're setting an area. They're cutting trees down. They're
All day long.
All day long. They're creating a farm. They're trying to create something for their family. They're fighting with some skirmishes at this time, especially when the French and Indian War started.
Oh, well, this region was the 18th century equivalent to what later became the Oregon Trail in the 19th century. In other words, very early on, the principal route from Philadelphia to the interior followed a path that takes us across the Susquehanna River at Wrightsville.
At Wrights Ferry, or Wrightsville.
And brings us into the frontier town of Yorktown, and then moves deeply into the interior to places called Berwick, which is now Abbottstown, or Marsh Creek, which then became Gettysburg. As those Scotch-Irish and as those German immigrants are making their way into Western Maryland, the Cumberland Valley, all the way down what do we now call the Shenandoah Valley, into the Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina and South Carolina. This was the superhighway.
And as that's happening, then you have the French-Indian War, and that started to slow it up.
Right. So the idea that not only was your safety threatened at that time, but also for a lot of families that were deep within the frontier regions, which is this area and west.
Yeah.
They had to leave for their own safety.
Right.
There was a depopulation of this region during the French and Indian War because of the incursions. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly, peace treaty is signed. The French are pushed out of
lost their empire in America.
Right. And what happens?
The British government decides, in order to stabilize the frontier, to have peaceful relationships with the Native Americans, we'll draw this line, the Proclamation Line of 1763, which in a broad way followed the Appalachians. And the edict was, you cannot settle these lands that you've been hungering to do for so long. Can you imagine how that went over?
Now, that meant the people that were living in this area could go as far as Chambersburg?
A little, yeah.
So the trails or the public roads. I mean, the first public road through this region that was sanctioned, surveyed by the Lancaster County government, because this was all part of Lancaster County at the time, was in the 1730s. It was the Great Road from to the Monocacy, from the Susquehanna to the Monocacy, which cuts down to York, then after York to what present-day Spring Grove, present-day Hanover, present-day Littlestown, present-day north of Frederick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And shortly thereafter, you ended up with the Great Road in the 1740s to the Cumberland Valley that follows what is pretty close to being Route 30 today.
So, this is what we're going to enjoy celebrating with our community.
And we're going to take the audience. This is what's really exciting. The opportunity and the funding that we've been able to receive. This would not be possible without the funding of the Hoffman Foundation. Being made possible through that, as well as through the donors and the members of the New Oxford Area Historical Society, the donors to the community media. But we're going to be able to take the audience to these locations. We're going to be able to introduce specific families. In fact, for example, we know that there are some very important families that took root in this region back in this era of the pre-Revolutionary War era. They fought. They played a role during the war itself. And then when they came home, they actually were responsible for the growth of this region. They are part of that fabric that was woven by those people. And so we are very interested. We feel that this is an opportunity for us to be able to draw from the audience and from the viewers, from the people that are in this region, not only stories about their own families that they know about from this era of when the country was founded, but then also if you happen to have some treasures, an artifact, a document, something that speaks to those individuals that were a part of your life, a part of your heritage.
And you're not asking to possess that. You're asking to copy it, to be able to use it.
We simply work with the individual, with the families, understand what it is, and be able to help highlight it as part of the fabric of what we call our home today.
So this is a very ambitious process because we're going to be having more open house, hopefully monthly meetings to bring you up to date and share with you where this project is going. Funding is going to be very important, and we could do so much with what we got, but it seems like when we come together, our vision becomes greater and greater, because the goal that I hear is how do we immerse the person into that past experience. So, there's a possibility of some reenactors.
There is,
absolutely.
There's the possibility. The goal is, how can we get you to relate to that person's life at that time? So if you are interested in helping with the funding of this project, they can get a hold of us through.
So we have a website that America 250 website for this project. Mm-hmm. It can be reached at on the webpage of the New Oxford Area Historical Society. And there, not only will we be keeping public up to date with what we're doing, but also providing resources for how you can actually go about and visit and learn more on your own. Not only the events that are happening, but then also places and people. So we think that this is the foundation for a very open-sourced way of where the readership or the membership and the audience can actually participate.
This is a great way of growing and celebrating our community. We're extending an invitation to you if you'd like to become a part of this, and if you want to become part of the community, if you want to help us as we go on from your time, your talent, or your treasures. If you want to encourage the process as it goes, if you want to be aware of what's happening. I mean, you already had meetings with the Adams County Historic Society?
I think it's really, really worth noting that we have a very good relationship for this project, not only with our friends to the west at the Adams County Historical Society, our friends to the east, the York History Center, our friends to the north, East Berlin Historical Society and the York Springs Historical Society, and our friends to the south, the Hanover Area Historical Society. Bringing all of those talents and perspectives and treasures to the table so that they can all be celebrated within the context of this production is truly an opportunity of a lifetime.
It is. It's awesome to see a community come together to celebrate and nurture community pride, community awareness. So this is going to be happening. Community media is going to be putting little shorts together constantly to go out here on Facebook to inform, to create awareness and a sense of you being part of it. So we definitely want you to become part of it. And I guess when you're doing what your heart enjoys to do, when you're in the middle of your heart's passion, time goes fast, doesn't it?
It does.
I mean, I think we've been on here for longer than what we realized.
Yeah.
So, Bob, would you like to say anything?
Well, I would just say this, that we're so very appreciative of the work that we're partnering with community media. You guys have really been such an integral and critical part, and has stimulated us. So we thank you, Ray and Mark, very much for your encouragement in this.
Yeah, and I'll echo that by saying that this would not be possible without that strong partnership between our skill sets. And when you bring, and this is a perfect example of when you're always greater and you can accomplish more when you work with others. And I think it also is worth making note that the vision is, as Ray mentions, shortly in the latter part of the winter or very early spring, you're going to be able to, audience is going to be able to view some of these smaller, shorter vignettes that help to ground people, but then also build awareness. And also, but the real show, if you will, the real show will be later in the year when we are packaging up all of our extended productions, and those extended productions will be made made available towards the end of the year, and those will be exciting.
And again, it's important that you realize that we're extending an invitation to you to be part of this. If you have something to share, if you have a story to tell, this is a chance to be a part of a community. So if there's nothing else, I mean, there's so much that we could talk about. And
We'll save it for the next time.
we're going to save it for the next time.
Right.
Because when you get people together that share the same passion, the vision just keeps on growing. So until we have a chance to sit down and share our heritage again, be healthy, be kind, and you are precious. Thanks for watching us. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.